Live.
Okay, we are admitting everybody. You are recording. Got it. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to PowerSkills Career Summit, a transformation edition. My name is Diana Viola. I'm the Communications Associate at Career Advising and Transition Services at McGill School of Continuing Studies. I would like to introduce my colleague, Valerie Nirini, a Career Advisor and Transition Advisor. She will be co-moderating this session. Before we get started, Valerie, do you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to PowerSkills.
Before we get started, I would like to mention that McGill is on land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst indigenous peoples. We respect their territory, and we will start this session with a land acknowledgement.
Hello.
Thank you so much, and welcome to PowerSkills. We're so thrilled that so many of you were able to join us today. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our speaker, Marcos Carvalho. I'm going to read his bio, and then afterwards, Marcos will take over. So Marcos Carvalho is a serial entrepreneur and technology advocate who has founded multiple companies over the years. The companies focus on missions that help streamline our major life events. He is a business advisor, and he coaches entrepreneurs from some of the most prestigious business accelerators in North America. Fondly known as the humble helper, he is an enthusiastic mentor. Marcos thrives in aiding other people to surpass themselves and reach their goals. Developing an entrepreneurial spirit in children is also another one of Marcos's passions. Today, he's going to talk to us about the digital nomad life. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcos Carvalho.
Hey, hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Mari, for this introduction. Well, I don't think I even need to introduce myself anymore. Thank you all for attending this presentation today. This topic is very dear to my heart, something I've been studying a lot in the past couple of years, and something that I felt was important to share in this time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody. And then I'm going to go through a few slides to present this concept, right? So yes, can everybody see my screen? I guess yes. So good. All right, perfect. So yes, so as Valerie said, I'm very passionate about empowering others to surpass themselves, and I've been fortunate to be able to live this purpose through different ways. One is through this type of events, and again, congratulations, the CATS team. This is amazing, and for those who want to know more about, how I usually collaborate with CATS, I invite them to watch the YouTube recording of my last presentation at this conference titled How to Reach Peak State for Your Next Career Adventure. So I could not have been more excited when the CATS team presented to me the theme of the summit. I can't think of a more important mission today than helping people prepare to what's ahead of us, take into consideration the rapid and massive change we are going through. So for my own success and the success of my family, I've been studying as much as possible about how to prepare for those changes, how to benefit from them, and how to leverage this major turning point in history to help make the world a better place. Today, I will present to you why I believe that a digital nomad life can be the ideal lifestyle to grow, educate our children, and have more fulfilling existence while contributing to a brighter future for humanity. My goal is to plant a seed in each one of you so that you can yourself dig deeper into your own research and be prepared for the trends that will shape our lives in the near future. I want you and your families to have prosperous and fulfilling lives in this new area that we are getting to. To be prepared, we need to know our history and never forget it. But most importantly, we need to look ahead of us. We need to stay up to date with the latest trends so that we can skate where the puck is going to be, not where it has been, as the great Wayne Gretzky used to say when asked about the secret for his success. When I was searching for this image, I found this one. And I was not surprised to learn that Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, a company that revolutionized the way we experience life, used this quote himself in his presentations. I believe that education is what's needed to prepare each one of us to live our ideal lives and is at the source of the solution for most of human challenges. Unfortunately, our educational system is outdated. And I'm saying that while presenting at McGill University Summit. Oops. Well, if that can reassure you, I think that McGill is very well positioned to rapidly adapt its system to our new area. And this event and the team behind it is a great example of that. As you can see in this image, our classroom have not changed that much in so many years. I give lots of workshops in elementary schools, and I have witnessed that. Well, that's the reflection of a 300-year-old educational system that was developed to prepare us for industrial era jobs. And it's extremely concerning to see children and young adults being educated and getting ready for jobs that we already know will disappear in just a few years. So I have a mission, and the mission to help reduce social and economic gaps between uneducated and non-technological individuals and us, privileged, tech-empowered citizens of the world coming from big cities and wealthy nations. I feel extremely fortunate to have the skills needed to thrive professionally in our digital economy. And I'm very concerned about the rapid abolishment of the jobs performed by excluded communities. I truly believe that the transfer of this knowledge and skills can help reduce poverty, inequality, and violence. This mission is particularly important today, a moment in history where we have been witnessing skyrocketing polarization and violence all over the world, a consequence of continuously growing inequalities caused by archaic and corrupted systems. So how can we improve our current situation and make the world a better place? Richard Buckminster Fuller was an American architect, system theorist, author, designer, inventor, and futurist, who once wrote something I love. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So let's keep that in mind and come back to this idea a little later when we will look into our options to adapt to those massive changes we are going through. as you all know, because of the pandemic, remote work grew by 42%. I mean, you may not know the statistics, but it grew by 42% in 2020. A trend that had only grown 1% in the previous 10 years. So I'd like to take a quick break in here and run 2 polls and ask a couple of questions about your own work experience at this time. So Valerie, if you could launch the first question, it would be great to have a good idea. So I would like to know where you are working from at this point. Are you still working remotely? Are you working from the office every day of the week? Or your employer is enabling you to work from home a few days a week? I'd love to know where we're at now. Among the audience, that will give you a good idea. Okay, well, yes, that's what I expected. The next question will make more sense to the reasoning that I'm trying to get into. But yes, we know people are still, and 71%, well, there's not a lot of change from last year, as we see. Okay, that's interesting. So now let's go into another question. If we can, Valerie. Now that we know that 71% still working remotely, a small minority is in between the other formats. But what about in the future? If you could choose, what option would you prefer? Be able to work from anywhere for the rest of your life? Would you prefer to work at the office like before? Or would you like to be able to work remotely only a few days a week? Wow. Okay. That's even more impressive than I expected. So far we have 75% of you that would want to be able to work from anywhere for the rest of our lives. So yes, and we all suffer from being isolated a little bit, and that's understandable. But there are many different ways around that. But working, it's something we should be free to do the way we want. And, according to a survey in October 2020, while 71% of Americans were still working from home, just like now, according to a poll, 54% said they want to keep working from home after the end of the lockdowns. In our case here, it's even higher than that. So that's interesting. That's cool. I'm talking to the right audience. It's estimated that 56% of the workforce holds a job that is compatible with working remotely. And these are only the jobs that exist today. We know that with AI and all the technology going on and fastly developing, we will have many different jobs that will enable different, possibilities. And obviously, this survey did not consider those jobs, the jobs of the future. So understanding this trend, many companies introduce permanent work from anywhere policies. And massive corporations like Facebook, Twitter, Shopify, Microsoft ordered working from anywhere permanently. And we're not only talking about tech companies. As you see in my example here, we have Fords and we have pharmaceuticals, consulting companies. It is something that companies are really looking into implementing faster than ever. And corporations are already benefiting from this system with a considerable increase in productivity and a massive reduction in fixed costs. Imagine all the money being saved with everything that was spent with the offices. But not only that, I believe that when we have more flexibility, we can be more productive as well. Some will say that we stay at home and work all day long. Well, I don't recommend. I recommend optimizing the way of working. Well, and we know that capital, is one of the major forces that move the world. So if corporations support this trend, there is no doubt that it will rapidly become a standard. So be prepared for that. Look into the careers that take that into consideration. But not only the corporations can save a lot of money with this new way of working, families can also save a lot of money by working and living remotely versus paying high taxes and having high expenses related to living in major North American metropolitan areas. What you're seeing here on this screen, it's an average for the average family in these locations. So up to now, we lived where we had to work. But from now on, we will work where we want to live. I believe that it will be very difficult to convince employees to go back to old model. And as an entrepreneur, I understand the difficulties of finding talents. If we impose rigid rules, we will not get the best talents. So, you know, something that every company will have to adapt. And there are other major trends growing that are supporting this movement. You know, like for example, the digital nomads and the slow traveling movements. According to experts, these trends are here to stay, right? Digital nomads are mostly young single people that travel the world or working remotely from their computers. They very flexible, they don't have a family. It's much easier to accomplish to be a digital nomad. They are tech empowered, of course. And this trend has been sustaining the exponential growth of a worldwide movement and the rise of startups helping adventurous young people to work while traveling. So if you are single or a young couple without kids, I recommend checking out some billion-dollar companies like Selena's. They have communities everywhere in the world, and you can get support, and you can discover new cultures while traveling, and you can work. Some say that you party more than working, but you know, I think it's okay for this audience. Remote Ear, it's another one. Wi-Fi Tribe is another one. So they very well establish and prepare to support the digital nomads, the young digital nomads. Slow traveling is a concept that was influenced by movements like slow eating, created in France in opposition to fast food. And slow living is a popular trend in countries like Italy or Greece, where people tend to live a less stressful lifestyle by taking it easy and enjoying the present moment. So slow traveling relies on the idea that a trip is meant to educate and have an emotional impact in the present moment and for the future, while remaining sustainable for communities and the environment. So some key words here: education, emotional impact, sustainability, all comes together with slow traveling. Yeah, sorry, I said I said what I was supposed to say in the slide before, but yeah, so that's what slow traveling is all about. And I recommend each one of you trying slow traveling. And the infrastructure is keeping up to support these trends. High-speed internet is almost everywhere. And independently, if we agree with it or not, Starlink, a company founded by Elon Musk, is deploying 5G internet all over the world. And according to them, they will soon provide fast, reliable internet to populations with little or no connectivity, including those in rural communities and places where existing services are too expensive or unreliable. Governments are also starting to adapt so that they can attract more digital nomads. Today, 21 countries have created digital nomad visas and have a program targeting digital nomads. 28 countries offer visas valid for 6 months or more. They are digital nomad friendly. So why attracting digital nomads is important for governments? Well, because we understand the positive impact they have on the local economies. First of all, many of them are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship creates jobs, right? They also come with capital to invest. Some, myself, an example, I love slow traveling, and I sometimes end up in a place and, I bought a land because I just love that place and I want to return, or a property. So, but most importantly, digital nomads tend to transfer knowledge and promote inclusion in the communities they spend time at, right? It's a different mindset than the traditional traveling industry. I believe that the universe is in constant equilibrium, and then there is no negative without positive, and vice versa. So this principle always gives me hope and motivation to progress, no matter how bad is the situation that I'm in. So there is no, if there is a positive outcome to this pandemic, is to give people the opportunity to rethink their existences, the meaning of their lives, and to challenge the status quo. I'm not sure if each one of you has benefited from this experience recently, but I sincerely hope so. We often hear that those who have control over their own lives and are successful often had hit rock bottom before standing up and accepting change and growing. It's common to hear from motivational speakers how traumatic their life was before they decide they needed to do something about it. Well, that's the point where our entire planet is now. And if we want to get out of this situation and build a brighter future, we will need to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete, as Buckminster Fuller said. One way we can easily start by rethinking our approach to our day-to-day lives and rethinking our real priorities in life, now that we have so many possibilities. The ultimate goal being to enjoy life in the present moment instead of hoping to have a good time when we retire. Why live in expensive cities and pay big mortgage if we could live anywhere and relocate as we wish? Why commuting long hours and paying car leases if we can work from anywhere and enjoy more time with our families and friends? Why only benefiting from a few weeks of holidays during peak season if we could explore the world and slow travel while committing to our daily responsibilities? And why put our children in a traditional and outdated educational system if we could benefit from a much richer education by helping them experience the world? These are some of the questions many families have been asking themselves lately. Living a nomad life is a start, but it's not enough to see the change we want to see in the world. If our goal is to empower people to have more fulfilling lives while creating the ideal conditions for the development of humanity, we need to rethink the basic needs of human beings. And we can help design a lifestyle with solid foundations anchored in principles and values promoting inclusion, well-being, growth, and deeper connections with ourselves, our families, our communities, nature, the world, the universe, right? And this ideal lifestyle is nothing new. It's common to certain geographic areas of the world that scientists named blue zones. Blue zones are regions of the world where a higher than usual number of people live much longer than average. And the evidence has shown that people living in the blue zones not only live longer, but if you live longer, you mostly, healthier and also live a happier life. The interesting part is that this lifestyle is adapted to many very different cultures. We have blue zones in California, Costa Rica, Italy, Greece, and even Japan. And they all live this similar lifestyle, which is based on practicing moderate and regular physical activity, living, understanding, and living their life purpose. They are engaged in family and social life. They do activities to help reduce stress. They practice some sort of spirituality. It's not about religion. And they eat wisely. So what if we could reproduce these effects so that we can all have more fulfilling and meaningful existences? But we need to start somewhere. And as Jordan Peterson explains in the 6th rule of the book, 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos, first, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. So there are many different ways to explain this principle, but a simple one is to understand that you can only see change in the world if you start by changing yourself and being responsible for your own family. So real change can start within yourself and then gradually expand to our immediate family, our friends, our community, the country, the world, and the universe. This is why investing in education, supporting our families, and providing unconditional love to our children is how the positive change starts. Giving continuous and unconditional love to our children is especially important during the first 7 years. This is the period where children build their personality and when traumas that they carry forever will occur. It's very important to be hands-on on our children's education and to pass on the right values that will enable them to do good to others as well. Statistically, it's been proven, for example, that the crime rate is exponentially higher in communities where the fathers abandon the nest. Our industrial era created a system where often both parents have professional commitments and need to work long hours outside of the house, leaving the children's education at the mercy of institutions and other external influences, generating traumas that have been passed on to multiple generations. A philosopher that I love, Alan Watts, presents an interesting theory explaining that before the Industrial Revolution, families would more often stick together because they had common entrepreneurial projects and they worked together every day. This project most likely was a farm where the entire family would work for their own subsistence. This family and business structure was ideal to keep the family together and avoid divorces. Today, in the information era, we have the opportunity to go back to a similar model where by working remotely, couples can share more experiences and dedicate more time to their children's education. I was born in Brazil, raised between Brazil, France, United States, and Canada, and I lived in a dozen cities. I'm passionate about discovering the amazing things our planet has to offer. And I'm convinced that the experiences traveling provide are the most suitable to develop the values we need to be the change we seek in the world. by traveling and getting to know different people and cultures, we develop openness and can more easily understand the importance of inclusion, kindness, and compassion. Traveling promotes connection, collaboration, and enables us to learn from all kinds of people that will help us grow and to transfer knowledge as well. It's by living these experiences that we can really have a better understanding of humanity, nature, and the universe. And it's very important that we live this experience with our families so that we can set the tone for the future generations. Thankfully, today, we have the means to explore the world, embrace the charm of and the beauty of authentic cultures, while committing as usual to our daily responsibilities, working in a stimulating environment, and providing state-of-the-art education to our children. So why most families are still holding back on living this lifestyle? I understand COVID is still here, but I don't believe it's going to be something forever present in our lives. Well, some families don't have time or find it too complex to orchestrate such a project, or they are just simply fearful of the unknown. Others think they cannot afford it. But the main reason is that families can't find an adapted solution for their children's education while slow traveling or being nomads. And some are concerned about the limitation limiting opportunities to their children if they remove them from the traditional system. But I would not worry if I were them. Even if the trend accelerated during the pandemic, homeschooling is nothing new and has been generating great results so far. Homeschoolers score 15 to 30% above public school students on standardized academic achievement tests. They score above average on the SAT and ACT tests that colleges consider in the United States for admission. They are increasingly being actively recruited by colleges, 80% versus 50% for state school students. And 69, and that's an interesting one because it's about day-to-day life. 69 of peer-reviewed studies on success into adulthood, including college, show adults who were home educated succeeded and performed statistically significantly better than those who attended institutional schools. So all of that are official statistics. But we have to say, and we witnessed that during the pandemic, homeschooling is not for every parent. So an alternative solution is needed, and we need to design it. A hybrid system that embraces the best techniques out there and is globally available for families. A worldwide network of learning centers that embrace the ecosystems and the communities around the classroom and include the same core pillars, but a digital experience on top of that to tie the program together according to each location. This network, can also enable teachers and students to cycle between locations, developing relationships and long-lasting friendships. It's a transformational and flexible educational system based on short modules that will help students build their own portfolio, and those portfolios are then used to present their achievements through their educational journey. According to some of the most qualified educators I've met, a future-ready education for children should be based on experiential learning, which is learning by doing. Students being exposed to new concepts by using a more hands-on approach. A project-based learning, which is based on collaborative projects that are meaningful on a personal and communal level. Individualized learning is crucial as everyone learning a different way. And we need to include everybody within this system. So offering smaller classes where teachers can provide personalized instructions that allow students to move at their own pace is essential for child development. And nature-based learning is important as well to enable learning in the context of nature and using the local ecosystem as a third teacher. Mindfulness in the curriculum will also guide children to be present in the moment and provide hands-on tools to ensure children's emotional well-being. Culture-based learning will be about embracing all cultures as a resource, and learn more about ourselves, our community, and the world. It's also said that it takes a village to raise a child. So schools should be multilingual, multicultural, and enable high involvement from parents. When working remotely, all the time we use to waste in commuting, for example, can be now spent educating our children. But all of that seems very utopic. But achieving this vision, it's closer to reality than we can imagine. I have myself invested in a company named Boundless that is working on building this exact lifestyle and has a purpose and mission very aligned with mine. If you're interested in learning more, check out their website. It's boundlesslife.io. Boundless is a collection of thoughtfully designed communities located in beautiful destinations around the world where like-minded people can develop connections, collaborate, and be culturally immersed, while children benefit from a transformational and holistic educational system that prioritizes creativity, embrace soft skills, outside-of-the-box thinking, and respect for our planet. So this company provides an unmatched solution for one-of-a-kind new lifestyle. So it provides turnkey homes designed with families in mind, forward-thinking education system that follows families everywhere, a co-working hub that stimulates creativity and collaboration, and a community families can belong to regardless of where they live. They have a very interesting format where families can rent homes in different parts of a town and really feel culturally immersed, while having access to the community in the Boundless Hub that hosts the learning center, the co-working space. And that's also where people can receive support from community managers whose jobs is to make sure families have the best local experience. But it's all about integration. So to live what they call the boundless life, all the families need to do is to decide how long they want to stay in one destination, choose their preferred location, and then rotate when they feel like they need a change in horizons. But what excites me the most about Boundless is their mission. Every destination will have a foundation, and this foundation will make sure their communities become prosperity hubs by utilizing the working and learning space to promote digital inclusion, by providing workshops, trainings, internships, scholarships to those living in the neighboring communities, and matchmaking people with common interests to develop entrepreneurial projects. So imagine if you could spend time in a community where you have your private space within a town, you're fully immersed in there, but at the same time, you can go and work in a stimulating environment with like-minded people you can exchange, collaborate, build projects with, while you receive support. Because the challenge when we want to change the world is like where we start, how are we going to do that? And when you go to a new place, you have even less resources. So what about if you are in a place and then you have people helping you helping? That's the key. It's like we need to have facilitators, people that will understand your, what you have to give back, what are your skills, how you can support the community, what are the cause you care the most about, and then take that into consideration and understanding the needs of the local communities to then connect, the people in need with the people that can provide support. And the people that can provide support benefit from this exchange because they're learning from this new culture, they're making new friends, right? And not counting the effect of giving back, which is considerable in, our state of mind, of course. If we are able to do that a little bit everywhere, that's, in my opinion, how we start change. That's, in my opinion, how we develop an entrepreneurial mindset that will enable people to be independent, sovereign, and not depend on any support from governments that I believe will soon no longer be able to provide. And my presentation is shorter than I expected. And sorry for the background noise. I have 3 dogs here. But I would like to finish with a little story and then open for questions. We'll probably have 10, 15 minutes if you guys have questions. Of course, I kept it simple. There are many principles behind all of that I presented that can be developed. But I would really like to finish with this short story that I'm going to read to you. So the Kenyan runner, Abel Mutai, was only a few meters from the finish line, but got confused with the signs and stopped, thinking he had finished the race. Ivan Fernandez, Spanish speaking, was right behind him, and realizing what was going on, started shouting to the Kenyan to keep running. Mutai did not speak Spanish and did not understand what Ivan was saying. Realizing what was going on, Fernandez pushed Mutai to victory. A reporter asked Ivan, "Why did you do this?" And Ivan replied, I got a little emotional when I read the story. My dream is that one day we can have some sort of community life where we push ourselves and also others to win. And then the reporter insisted, "But why did you let the Kenyan win?" And Ivan replied, "I didn't let him win. He was going to win anyways. The race was his." But the reporter insisted and asked again, "But you could have won." So Ivan looked at him and then replied, "But what would be the merit of my victory? What would be the honor of this medal? What would my mother think of me?" So the conclusion, in my opinion, is that values are transmitted from generation to generation. What values do we want to teach our children, and how do we want to inspire others? Unfortunately, today, most of us take advantage of people's weaknesses instead of helping to strengthen them. That's what we need to change in the world. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope this presentation was inspiring to you to live a boundless life with your family.
Thank you so much, Marcos, for that insightful, educational, and inspirational talk. I learned so much following along. I have a few questions, and I'm sure our audience does as well. If you have any questions for Marcos, please feel free to either type them in the chat, or you can raise your hand under reactions. and feel free to ask those questions yourself. Amazing. We've got some very inspirational, says Amani. Thank you for sharing that, Amani. I have a question for people, I would say like myself, who are kind of going through the motions of how we perceive life to be, having a stable job, a mortgage, starting a family. How does one start to change towards the more nomad living?
Well, first you need to have a source of income that will enable that, right? There are different ways of doing that. Most people dream of being financially free. A lot of people achieve that through investments, such as real estate, which today it's much more difficult than ever, getting cash flow out of properties. Being an entrepreneur, you know, I would never stop pushing for entrepreneurship. Not that I think that everybody should be an entrepreneur, but having an entrepreneurial mindset, it's essential for everyone. Especially, it's going to be especially important in the new area we get into. So if you are able to create your own business and then generate revenue through that, there's so many possibilities of online businesses. It's about first, and you know, I think the presentation I did in the last summit goes into that. It's about first identifying your strengths and then seeing what's the need out there and then making it digital, right? So that's another way. And the other way is simply to negotiate with your, your employer. And as we saw in the polls, that's not going to be that difficult. So that's the beginning, right? It's like, okay, I have a source of income, I can do that. And now, okay, the needs, if you are single or a young couple, are very different from the needs of a family. And this is why this company is targeting the families. There is no such solution out there. It's about education. So we, bringing those things together is like, okay, how can we provide better education while doing that? And it will depend of what you think of education. If you believe on what I said, and then there are different ways you can start homeschooling that are less demanding than we think. Now, there's a lot of people that believe on something else. They believe on unschooling, which is a little bit more extremist, which is let the child learn by themselves. And I believe there are plenty of resources out there. You just need to provide some guidance. The interesting about it, if you set up the right expectations, you create you present some principles and make sure they understand the values of that goes around these activities. It's about enabling this individual to focus on what they like and they're good at. And that these are the people that really make a difference. I'm terrible with math and still am. And I spent years of my life trying to learn something that I never use. Thankfully, I have business partners that are much better than me. Now, I'm good at other things. If I had spent more time learning the things I'm good at, I'll be pretty much better, I believe, than what I am now in anything I do. So, I've spoken with a lot of entrepreneurs, very successful ones, very fortunate people from the Silicon Valley. And many of these folks are just like, you know what? They're doing whatever they think is best. I'm just guiding. And they believe that this is the way to go because information is available out there, right? But having parents providing, the right environment, the giving the example, having mentors, having specific teachers for specific courses like arts or music, all of those things, all of that is important as well. So it's much easier than we think. We just need to want to do it.
Thank you so much for that. As a follow-up question, if for those of us who are kind of feeling that, we're ready for a change, we're ready to start experiencing a different aspect of life, there's an element of fear there, right? You know, packing up, changing the way that you habitually live and work is not always an easy jump for everyone. Do you have advice for people who are maybe on the fence and are scared to make those changes?
Yes, there is a major problem we have, which is with our belongs, you know, what we do with our belongs, you know, and I've been trying to clean my closet so many times, and it seems like I just have more stuff in it. So detachment is important. So practicing and understanding the benefits of detachment is important. So tapering down by trying to have more of a minimalist life, it's a good beginning. And as you do it, you understand that you don't need all that stuff. You don't need to hold on to anything, because your life is in the present moment. That's the only moment where you enjoy happiness. Yes, you can enjoy happiness by remembering things, but you don't need to, you know, have them and carry them around you to remember them. It's in your mind. You're never going to be able to reproduce that experience just because, you know, you're keeping a souvenir. So trying to adapt more of a minimalist lifestyle, it's important. Understanding, you know, as I was, you know, there's a slide that talks about it, understanding what really matters in life. It's spending time with your family, spending time with your friends. It's, you know, taking care of the future. And with those purposes in mind, we get to detach more of a place or things, and that gives a lot of relief. And then that's the first step to say, okay, so now that I'm cool with, you know, not having all those things in my house, or even not having my house or not being in my house all the time, well, now I'm probably, you know, more prepared to go to a new place and then spend time in another house, which is probably not mine, but it doesn't matter. It's the experience that I'm living there that counts.
Amazing, thank you. You'd made reference to your previous talk, and you had shared some of your daily habits that you use to kind of focus and set intentions. Do you have any advice for the audience in terms of how do we start making that incremental change mentally?
Yes. Well, really trying to understand what's important in life, right? And what's important in life is started with what is important for me. You know, it's that thing, like you make the change yourself. So many exercises are available, so you understand yourself first. And then when you understand who you are much more prepared to have a positive impact. What's important for you, what are you good at, what you're not so good at. So, you know, do exercise to identify your values. Do exercise to identify your purpose. You know, what are you here for? You know, what's important for you? Sometimes it's very simple. You know, it may be just be, you know, for me, it's just like, I want to help as many people as possible. I know that if I'm helping, you know, I'm fulfilling that principle of mine, that purpose of mine, and then I'm happy doing that. But you know, I don't go too far on about like how I'm going to do this. You know, oh, it's too complex, I want to be perfect. No, you can be in the small things every day. And then, you know, a lot of people would be like, just I want to give the best education possible to my kids, or you know, I want to build a business that will be life-changing, or whatever it is that you want to do in life. You have to try to identify it. And one thing concerns me a lot, and you know, I coach or mentor some of the folks going through the continuing education program, and I see that many of them are looking for a job. You know, looking for a job is not the solution. You need to look to live a life you want to live. The job is just part of it. The job is going to give you the financial means, the job, but you have to enjoy the career. You have to enjoy the job. You have to enjoy the process. So it's not about the money at the end. The money will come. If you're not certain about the studying, going to continuous education and studying what you think is the best for you to have a fulfilling life, not for you to have money. And then you probably need to rethink what is important for you. So, you were mentioning a daily routines, but I think before even getting to daily routines, it's like doing those exercises, getting to know yourself. It's very important. We don't really stop to think about ourselves. We're always talking about others and things, external things. And then, of course, meditation. Everybody, already, I think, understands the benefits of meditation. It seems harder than it is. You can start slowly. You can get a nap, whatever it is that just, once you get to know yourself and you breathe deeply and you are, within yourself when you meditate, that's when those insights come. That's when you get to really deepen your knowledge about your connectiveness to the universe, because it's, yes, I'm important and I should start with me, but I'm really nothing. I'm just a little piece of something much bigger. And when you have this notion, that's when everything changed, because first of all, there is a reduction in fear. You talk about fear. Fear is a bigger problem, and most importantly, fear of death. We always keep fear of death in the back of our minds, and that's what slows us down all the time. If we understand that we are just a body and we are actually energy within a much larger energy, and then we have a higher understanding of ourselves, and the body is less important, we consequently reduce vanity, which is great, but also we do not fear death, or we fear less death, which gives us more energy to take all of those decisions. Because you may think the fear is money, but if you keep digging, at the end is death, right? So yeah, get to know yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I see in the chat we had a wonderful quote that Karen shared, referring to our belongings and having too much. She shared, "Own what you can carry with you. Let knowledge be your bag." And author is unknown, but very, very reflective quote to share. So thank you so much, Karen.
Yes, thank you.
We also have a question from Kimberly. She would like to know if you could give some advice on how to stretch out of your comfort zone on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, well, tackle the most difficult things first. We like to procrastinate and then start with the easy and then leave the difficult for later. You get off your comfort zone when you do the most difficult things first, and then after you are comfortable, you just clean your mind. You're like, oh fuck, I was able to do that. It wasn't that difficult. So you push yourself to do it. Yeah, I think that's important, to get off your comfort zone. But also, what this presentation is all about is understanding others, putting yourself in other people's shoes. When you have an argument, or you thinking about having an argument, or someone, send you an angry email, or whatever it is that upsets you, I get out of my comfort zone and my own mind by putting myself on the other person's shoes, no matter how upset I am, because then, it's not about myself anymore. I can understand I someone else, and this someone else is just like me, with different problems, or maybe even the same problems. So when you think about other people's point of view and where they're coming from, it's always about not being about yourself all the time. Even though I said before, get to know yourself and do the best for yourself first, so you can help others. But once you do that, you will really get out of the comfort zone when you see what other people's life are like, and traveling is amazing for that.
Amazing. So as we approach the end of the session, I have one last question. And we've now known each other at a professional level for a couple of years now, and you've always seemed so zen. Are you able to share with us, some of the catalysts that have made you who you are today.
Yes. So how am I able to be Zen, which I'm not all the time, but I actually was not Zen at all. I was actually very aggressive. I mentioned traumas in this presentation, and I spent many years of my life reproducing my traumas. And the only way I had to take it out was just to be aggressive. So I came from a very aggressive country, which is Brazil, where fighting on the streets is something that every teenager would do. And that was something that I was raised in, which today I realize how stupid it is. Now, that created so many issues in my life, so many, that I would be even more stupid if I would not see the signs after I don't know how many times I got in trouble. So what I did was to understand, okay, what is my major need? What do I need to do to put that away? Well, the first thing was I needed to understand that I was not my traumas. I am something, right? And I should try to always get closer to my higher self. Who would I have been if I had no traumas? And this is the 7 years that I mentioned in the presentations. Like, those 7 years are crucial because you come in pure and then we corrupt you. So let's pay attention to how we raise our children, especially in the first 7 years. So if I would have had the ideal, education and circumstances, who would I have been? And I want to be that person. Every day I keep in mind, I want to be that person. I want to be that person. Now, what was my biggest problem? Well, my biggest problem was because I could just not control my emotions. That I understand. I had such a hard time controlling my emotions. And every time I would not control it, and then I would get in trouble. Not control it, get in trouble, and end many important relationships in my life. Now, how do you control your life? How you control your emotions? Well, you need to see them. You need to identify where you're failing before you go further. So having this awareness and understanding, again, getting to understand ourselves, getting to understand our traumas, is really good to dissociate ourselves from it and then identify the trigger points that will bring you back to that place where you don't want to be. So now I'm much better at identifying those trigger points. And then I created small rituals that, if I'm in a very stressful situation, would keep me controlled. And, I remember my mom telling me, like, count to 10 to calm down. Well, I don't want to have to calm down. I want to stay calm. So I'm identifying. Sometimes those are, physical sensations, your stomach, your chest. Sometimes, it's a heat in your body, whatever it is. So I'm constantly actually doing that. It's not natural, because I have no choice. So I'm continuously doing that. And again, putting myself in other people's shoes and trying to understand from their point of view really helps. Sometimes I don't have time. So I just, use my little, rituals that, could be anything, like holding my chain, for example, right? Reminds me, like, okay, that's time to not get stressed. And then another thing that I was fortunate about was that I'm an entrepreneur, and the life of an entrepreneur is extremely hard. You get hit all day long, right? I know that when I'm going to close the computer here, I'm going to jump into trouble, and I'm already used to that, and trouble doesn't affect me anymore. So, reducing fear of death, reducing fear of trouble, it really keeps me calm. Sometimes I'm in business calls and I have a client that is very unhappy, and the other day my business partner said, "Oh, how you keep calm?" I'm like, it just doesn't affect me anymore, because my well-being is more important than anything, and not because of me, but because of the energy that I would transmit to my environment.
Thank you so much, Marcos. for the gems,
You're
for
welcome.
your wisdom, for your vulnerability as well, and sharing your experience with us today. I'd like to thank our audience for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us. I see in the chat there's a lot of messages of thanks and appreciation. So thank you, Marcos, for always being willing to share your insights and give a little bit of yourself every time. We appreciate you. We appreciate the audience. This is one of many of the PowerSkills sessions. There's quite the lineup coming up later today after this session. They're in the chat if you haven't had a chance to register for them. There's a few panel discussions, I did it my way, where you'll continue to be inspired by other go-getters and people that live at the beat of their own heart and their own drums. So you'll get to meet some more inspirational people, very similar to Marcos. There's a keynote speaker, Elias Makos, who is a well-known personality here in Montreal. And he is the host of the Elias Makos Show on CJAD 800. So you'll have a chance to ask him questions as well if you'd like to tune in. Marcos, thank you. And
thank
we
you.
look forward to the next time we get to collaborate with you.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure. I look forward for the next presentations.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.